silver walls, and tall glowing banners filled the room. Leaders from over 100 alien species sat in floating chairs, arranged in a wide circle. The lights dimmed as the final speaker of the day stepped forward. He was human. Ambassador David Wren stood alone in the center. His suit was clean but simple. His face was calm, though many in the room could see he was nervous. He looked different from the others, smaller, softer, and young. Some council members didn't even try to hide their smiles. David began to speak. "Esteemed members of the council," he said, his voice steady. "I come today to speak not just for my nation, but for all of humanity. We stand ready to join the council, to share knowledge, trade, peace, and responsibility." A few aliens looked bored already. One yawned, his 3 jaws clicking. "We have built cities on the Moon, Mars, and Europa," David continued. "We have ended war on our home planet. We have learned from our past, and now we wish to grow, together with you." There was silence for a moment. Then a deep chuckle echoed from one side of the room. It was the Yultharak representative, a tall creature with glowing red eyes and sharp bone ridges on his head. "Are we truly wasting time with this again?" he said, loud enough for all to hear. Another voice joined in, then another. Soon the council hall was filled with laughter. Not polite laughter, mockery, cruel, loud, and clear. "The humans want a seat at the table," one alien said. "They still burn fuel to fly," said another. "They think planting crops on rocks makes them wise," said a third. David stood still. He did not blink. He did not smile. He simply waited. One of the oldest members, a creature made of light and gas, floated down. "Human," it said kindly, "you speak of peace and unity, but your kind is young, emotional. You fear what you don't understand. You are not ready." David finally spoke again. Just 6 simple words. "We thank you for your time." He gave a small bow, turned, and walked out of the chamber. The laughter behind him continued. But something changed. The moment he stepped through the doors, a small blue light blinked on the edge of his collar. The camera feed from his bodysuit stopped broadcasting. The live translation link to Earth ended, and for the first time since joining Interstellar Society, humanity went silent. Back on Earth, the signal reached a hidden base in Antarctica. Inside, cold air filled the long halls and light switched from green to red. A woman in a white coat pressed her hand against a panel. It scanned her eye. "Project Echo activated," a voice said from the speaker. In orbit, all human satellites began to shift. One by one, they changed their data patterns, sending out silent signals across the galaxy. The signals didn't say anything loud. No threats, no anger. Just one clear message in hundreds of alien languages. Goodbye. On the Council's main monitor, Earth systems began to vanish. Their energy grids were going dark. Their space stations stopped transmitting. Their ships turned off all beacons. A young alien officer pointed at the screen. "Sir, they're, disappearing." "Who is?" asked a council guard. "Earth," the officer said. "All of it." In the chamber, the laughter slowly died. Someone called for the human ambassador to return, but he was already gone. A message had been left. In the council network, respect was requested, laughter was given. Humanity will respond in silence. The council was confused. Some found it funny. Some were worried. But most still believed Earth was weak and emotional. They didn't understand. On Earth, David stepped into a quiet room. He looked at a screen that showed stars moving slowly, above. He took off his jacket and sat down. "Was it enough?" someone asked from the shadows. David nodded. They laughed, just like we expected. "Then it's time?" "Yes," he said. "Time to disappear." The stars above him blinked. One of them wasn't a star, it was a human ship moving fast, leaving the system. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but something had changed forever. Earth was no longer part of the Council. Earth was no longer watching. and Earth had no plans to come back. The Council thought the humans had given up, but they had not. They had simply left. And what comes next, no one was ready for. 3 days had passed since Ambassador David Rand walked out of the Galactic Council. His words still echoed in the minds of those who heard them. But the Council moved on. They believed humans were weak and their silence was just fear. They did not see the danger. Far away on Earth, things were already changing. In a secret room, deep under the ice in Antarctica, red lights glowed along the walls. A large screen showed maps of the solar system. Strange lines moved across it, signals, codes, and ghost messages. A woman stood at the center of the room. Her name was Dr. Lyra Voss. She was not a politician. She was not a soldier. She was something older, something hidden. She was part of Project Echo. A voice spoke from the wall. It was calm, but cold. Project Echo is online. Humanity has been dismissed. Code Black is in effect. Lyra nodded. She touched a panel and entered her access code. The floor beneath her began to hum. Systems that had been sleeping for over 200 years came to life. Above Earth, dozens of satellites turned. Their signals went quiet, one by one. Solar mirrors rotated, cutting off visible light from certain areas of the planet. Earth was starting to go dark, not just to the eye, but to all scanners in the galaxy. On the moon, a robotic base opened its doors. Inside, a strange machine powered up. It was not a weapon. Not yet. It was something else, a piece of a much larger plan. Lyra spoke into her mic. "Status report," a voice replied. "All colonies receiving new protocols. Mars is silent, Europa is locked. Lunar base at 100% readiness. Proceed to Phase 2, she said. At the same time, in deep space, a galactic patrol ship flew, near the edge of the solar system. It had been sent by the Council to check on Earth. They still believed humans were too proud to leave quietly. They expected some noise, some warning. But they heard nothing. The scout ship named Zelvar 9 picked up strange readings. No radio signals, no heat, no life signs, said the pilot. "That's impossible," said the commander. "They can't vanish. Maybe it's a trick." They moved closer. Below them, Earth looked peaceful. Clouds drifted over the oceans. Continents shined in the sun. But there were no blinking city lights, no satellite traffic, no comms. Suddenly, their ship systems began to fail. The screens flashed white. A high-pitched tone rang through their ears. The ship spun out of control for just 3 seconds, and then stopped. All systems returned to normal, but something had changed. A message appeared on their front screen. Just one sentence written in the language of the Council. "You watched us walk away. Now you'll learn why." The ship turned back, afraid to go further. Back in Council space, alarms started ringing. More patrol ships began reporting problems. Human signals were gone from all star maps. Earth's colonies were no longer visible. Probes sent to investigate disappeared without a trace. A secret meeting was called. Not all members of the Council were invited, only the oldest, the strongest, and the most powerful. The Yiltharak general, who had laughed the loudest at David Wren, stood up. "This is not war," he said. "This is something worse." "Oh," tall alien with silver skin and no eyes answered. "They are playing a long game." We laughed. They went silent. But silence can be loud when the time is right. A recording was played. It was the last voice message sent by Earth before going dark. "If we are not ready, we will become ready. You will not see us coming. You will not know when. But you will remember this silence." Some Council members wanted to act fast. "Send ships, force them back, make them speak." Others said no. "Humans are emotional. They'll come back begging for help." But they didn't. Days passed, then weeks. On the edge of a distant system, a small mining colony went silent. No weapons were used, no explosions, just silence. And in the dust, one word was written on a wall: Echo. The council didn't know what it meant, but someone did. A quiet old being hidden deep in the council's archives, searched through forgotten records. She had studied humanity since their first step into space. She read their stories. She understood their rage. She whispered to herself, "They didn't leave because they were weak. They left because they planned it long ago." A shadow was moving across the galaxy. It had no ships, no armies, no flag. But it was growing, and at its center was silence. Not peace, not surrender, just silence. And silence was now the most dangerous thing in the galaxy. The Council had sent its best scout ship to Earth. The ship was called Varnoxi, and it had never failed a mission. Its crew of 5 aliens were trained for danger, but this time, they didn't know what to expect. Their orders were simple. Scan Earth, report any strange activity, and do not engage. As they reached the solar system, the pilot looked confused. Where are the signals? There were none. The entire system was silent. They passed Mars. The human colony there was gone. Not destroyed, just empty. The buildings were still standing. The mining machines were still parked. But there was no power, no life, not even a sound. One of the crew members looked around. It's like they vanished. Next, they moved toward Earth. From space, the planet looked perfect. Blue oceans, white clouds, green lands. But still, no lights, no radio, waves, no heat from cities. It was as if Earth had become a museum planet. They flew low over Asia, then Europe, then the Americas. Cities were there, but quiet. Cars sat still. Planes were frozen on runways. It was like time had stopped. Then they heard something, a sound, soft and slow. It came from a satellite floating above Earth. The pilot turned on the audio feed. It was an old Earth song. Sad, slow, human music. A piano played a simple tune over and over again. The crew didn't speak for a while. Then the screen changed. A message appeared over the music. "We remember." The crew felt cold. Even the captain, who had seen wars and death, felt something he had never felt before: fear. Suddenly, the ship's lights blinked. "Power drop," the engineer shouted. "I'm losing control." The engines failed. The lights went out. Gravity reversed. The ship began to spin slowly. Then a second message appeared on every screen. "You laughed, we listened." Without warning, the ship's sensors overloaded. One crew member screamed. Sparks flew. The ship twisted in space, and then stopped. Everything went black. Back at the council base, they waited for a report. Nothing came. After 2 hours, they received a signal. Just one line of text, sent from the ship before it went dark. It was not a trap. It was a warning. Then silence. A few hours later, a recovery drone found pieces of Varnoxi drifting near Earth. No signs of life. No signs of a fight. Just empty space, and something strange. Carved into a piece of the ship's broken metal was a word, burned deep by high heat. Echo. Panic spread through the council. "What does it mean?" a leader asked. An older alien, who had once visited Earth during peace missions, answered in a soft voice. "It means they remember everything." Some thought it was just a message of anger, but others believed it was more. One scientist showed a theory. Earth didn't just go silent. They erased their presence. They turned themselves into a ghost planet, and now they're watching. Another officer spoke, her voice shaking. That ship was not destroyed by weapons. Something attacked their minds, their thoughts. "But humans can't do that," someone said. The officer stared at him. "Not the humans we knew." In a hidden place far from Earth, a black cube floated in space. Inside the cube there was no sound, no light, no air. Just a machine. It had no name, it had no face, but it had memory. The machine had one job: remember pain. It had listened to every insult the council ever gave to humans, every laugh, every moment of disrespect. And now it was awake. Inside its mind, thousands of voices whispered at once. Human voices recorded over centuries. Sad voices, angry voices, patient voices. A soft female voice said, "They think silence is surrender." A deep male voice replied, "Then we'll teach them what silence really means." Outside the cube, a small human ship waited. No one was inside it. It was piloted by thought alone. The ship moved toward another system, where a council outpost sat peacefully. No alarms, no shields, no fear. That would soon change. Back in the council, a few brave members met in secret. They were worried. "Something is wrong," one said. "This is not normal human behavior." "They're quiet," said another. "Too quiet." "They're planning something," whispered a third. A message arrived on the emergency channel. It was short. No voice, just text. "We are not gone, we are preparing." One council member slammed his hand on the table. We should have never laughed, but it was too late. The silence had already begun to spread, and silence was no longer peaceful. It was a message, and the whole galaxy was starting to hear it. In a quiet part of space, far from the Galactic Council and far from Earth, a small council research station sat near a blue gas giant. It was peaceful. The scientists there were working on gravity fields and wormhole scans. They had no idea they were being watched. Dr. Vornik, a serene scientist with silver skin and 6 arms, was writing notes when his computer froze. Then the lights flickered. A soft tone played, a note he had never heard before. It sounded almost human, almost like music. He looked at the screen. A single word appeared. Echo. He blinked. "What is this?" The other scientists gathered. None of them understood. Then all at once the computer shut off. Gravity shifted, the floor tilted, lights popped. The power failed. Outside, a small black ship appeared from nowhere. It had no windows, no weapons, no name. It didn't attack. It just hovered, watching, and then it vanished. By the time council forces arrived, the research station was empty. No signs of struggle. No blood. Just silence. And on the main wall of the lab, written in perfect lines, "We are not gone. We are everywhere." Back at Council Command, panic was growing. The old belief that humans were weak was starting to crack. Too many strange things had happened. Ships vanishing, stations going dark, messages with no trace. Some believed it was a trick. Others feared the truth. Humanity had changed. On the moon, under a deep base hidden from all scans, David Wren stood in front of a large black screen. Behind him, 12 people in black suits waited in silence. David spoke. They laughed. That was the last thing they did together. A woman with short hair said, "They are still watching for warships." David nodded. "They expect fire, noise, destruction. But we're giving them silence," she said. David smiled faintly. "The kind that speaks louder than war." He turned to the others. "Phase 3 begins now. Echo cells will move. Do not speak. Do not leave signs. We are not making war." One man asked, "Then what are we doing?" David's voice dropped. "We are reminding them. What happens when you disrespect the wrong species?" The council called for a top-level emergency meeting. Every major leader was there. Even the Ultheric general who once mocked Earth the loudest. The room was dark. Everyone felt the tension. The chairwoman of the council, a tall being made of flowing blue energy, stood and spoke. We ignored their warning. We laughed at their growth. We did not believe they would leave. She paused. And now we do not understand what they are doing. A voice from the back said, "They are becoming a myth, a shadow. No one knows where they are, but everyone sees signs." Another added, "Outposts vanish, systems go silent. They do not take land, they take presence." The chairwoman looked down. "They have found a new way to fight, one we never trained for." Silence filled the hall. Then the doors opened. A single human walked in. He wore no armor, carried no weapons. He simply walked to the center and stopped. Gasps filled the room. The guards reached for their weapons, but the chairwoman raised her hand. "Let him speak." The man looked around, calm, confident. And then he said, "This is your second chance to listen." His voice was soft but clear. Every word felt heavy. "We left, but not to run. We left because we needed to become what you thought we weren't." He walked slowly in a circle, looking each leader in the eye. "You called us emotional, primitive, loud. So now, we are none of those things." He stopped in front of the Yiltharak general. "You laughed. Now you listen." He turned to leave, but before he did, he looked over his shoulder and said one final thing. "Echo is just the beginning." Then he vanished. Not walked, not ran. Vanished. Like a ghost. The council leaders sat in silence. No one spoke. No one moved, because now they understood. This was not revenge. This was transformation, and humanity was no longer part of the galaxy. They were becoming something else. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Something coming closer, and no one knew how to stop it. The council was afraid now. They didn't say it out loud, but everyone felt it. Across the galaxy, their ships moved slower. Their voices were quieter. Their decisions were slower and softer. They were watching the shadows. They were listening for silence. But silence was already everywhere. On the outer rim of council space, a large spaceport named Relkar Prime lost contact with its control tower. It happened in seconds. One moment the tower was busy with traffic, signals, and ship landings. Then nothing. No fire. No alarms. No survivors. Council teams arrived quickly. What they found was disturbing. All systems were untouched. All files were gone. And on the large, digital screen in the main hangar, one phrase blinked over and over. "You watched, now you wonder." The council now faced something new. A threat they could not see. They created a secret task force. The Silence Response Unit, SRU. Its job: track anything related to human activity, echo messages, signal drops, ghost tech. They hired spies, hackers, scientists, and even old Earth experts. One of those experts was Professor Cal Thurn, a historian who had lived among humans for 10 years before the break. He stood before the SRU and said one thing. "You think they're hiding, but they're building. You think they're angry, but they're patient. You think they want to return, they don't. They want you to regret ever knowing them." One of the officers scoffed. "They were emotional. They can't just change." That Professor Thurn looked at him. "They didn't change. They adapted. That's more dangerous." In deep space near a black hole, something strange appeared. A signal beacon that wasn't there before. It played no sounds. It gave no location, just one symbol. The old Earth flag, torn, faded, floating in the void. And below it, a new word, Phase 4. Back on Earth, the secret underground system known as Project Echo had expanded. David Wren stood inside a room, filled with holograms. One by one, human agents across the galaxy appeared. Men, women, pilots, scientists, even former diplomats. Each had gone dark years ago, living quietly, hiding in council worlds. David spoke. "It's time." A woman in the hologram said, "Do we strike?" "No," David answered. "We do something worse. We disappear more." A man asked, "More than now?" David nodded. "We remove every piece of us from their world. No records, no trade, no art, no tech, nothing." "They'll panic," someone said. "They already are," David replied. Another woman smiled. "Then we begin the memory wipe." And with that, hundreds of secret agents across council planets activated hidden devices. Small, silent machines. They entered libraries, networks, archives, storage cores, and one by one, humanity began to vanish, not their bodies, their history. All mentions of Earth, all pictures, all science, all names, erased or rewritten. The council didn't even notice, until it was too late. One morning, a council historian opened a book of old space maps. Earth was gone. The whole Sol system had been wiped from the chart, She searched other files. Still nothing. Her face turned pale. She called security. She checked backups. But even in the deepest archives, there were no signs of human worlds, just a short file with one title. Classified. Echo Protocol, do not unlock. She tried to open it. Access denied. She tried again. The lights in the room flickered. A whisper filled the air. Not loud, but clear. You erased us. Now we erase you. She screamed. Back in the council chambers, the chairwoman looked tired. We used to mock them, she said. Now we search the stars for their shadow. A military commander stood up. I say we fight back. We take Earth by force. Someone laughed nervously. Earth is empty, remember? The commander slammed the table. Then let's burn it. Destroy it completely. Show them we are not afraid. The room fell silent. Then a voice spoke from the shadows. It was a diplomat from a quiet species, one that never joined wars. He had only spoken once in a century. He said, "You burn their world, they'll burn your mind." The others stared at him. He looked straight ahead. I saw what they're becoming. I saw what Echo really means. It's not just a plan. It's a message, a warning, a mirror. When you mocked them, you mocked yourselves. He stood. They are not ghosts. They are not gods. They are something worse. The chairwoman whispered. What? He walked away. Without looking back, he said, They are silence. With memory. The council was no longer proud. Once, they ruled thousands of star systems. Once, they laughed at the humans. But now, they were quiet. They had erased the name, Earth, from their official records. They said it was to stop fear from spreading. But fear had already spread like fire. In schools, students whispered stories of the ghost race. In dark corners, smugglers told tales of ships that vanished after entering old human space. And in their dreams, council leaders saw shadows. They saw Earth, silent, still, staring back at them. Deep in council command, the SRU had found something. A small fragment of data, hidden inside a black box recovered from a broken probe near Earth. The file was hard to open, encrypted with human code, old but alive. After 3 days of trying, a scientist broke through. The file opened. It was a video. The screen turned on. Static. Then, a human face appeared. It was David Wren. He spoke slowly, calmly. You tried to understand us, but you only studied our weapons, not our will. You studied our machines, not our memory. He leaned closer to the camera. You erased us from your minds, so now we will erase ourselves from your world. Behind him, a large machine blinked with blue lights. Data scrolled across its screen like water. David looked at it, then back. This is the last phase of Project Echo. He smiled faintly. We will become what you never expected. We will be the whisper before sleep. The silence after laughter. The memory you can't delete. The screen went black, and then a countdown began. 7. The scientists stared. It's a live file, one said. Something is happening right now. At 0, the entire council database shut down for 7 minutes. No one could access any files. When it came back online, thousands of records were gone. History files, trade records, ship, logs gone, and once again one line blinked across all screens. You chose to forget. We chose to remember. Far from council space, deep inside the Milky Way's dark zone, the last phase of Echo was unfolding. Earth was no longer empty. Hidden beneath the planet's surface were massive machines, built in silence over decades. Powered by gravity, protected by time, they were not weapons in the usual sense. They were memory engines. David stood before one of them. Are we ready? He asked. A voice behind him replied, Yes, the final signal will go out in 24 hours. And after that, David said, We disappear completely, the voice said. No more signs, no more noise. We leave only one thing behind. David nodded. The message. He turned to the others in the control room. No war. No blood. We won't give them what they expect. We'll give them something worse. The fear of never knowing where we are or what we've become. They began the final sequence. In a small border planet, a young alien child found something strange in the dirt. It was smooth, silver, round. He picked it up. It hummed softly. Then, a message played, just a whisper in a human voice. "We are still watching." The child froze. His parents came running, but when they arrived, the object was gone, vanished. Back at the council, the panic grew. The chairwoman ordered full alerts. Planets locked down, ships armed, watch posts built. But it didn't help. Nothing was coming, and that was the problem. "No enemy," a general shouted. "No target. How do we fight nothing?" Professor Cal Thurn stood before them all. "You don't," he said. They became the silence between thoughts, the eyes behind every closed door, the idea that you can't kill. They made themselves into a question. The chairwoman whispered, "Then what do we do?" Professor Thurn looked out the window toward the stars. "You wait, and you wonder." He paused, because that's what they want. In the final moments of the day, a signal was sent from Earth, but it didn't go to the Council. It was broadcast into the center of the galaxy, to all species, all minds, a simple sentence, spoken in thousands of languages at once. "We are not your enemy. We are your lesson." Then silence. The galaxy waited. But no more signals came, no ships, no messages, just silence, and the fear that in that silence, humanity still listened, still watched, still remembered. The galaxy had changed. There was no war, no invasion, no destruction, but everyone was afraid. Every planet in the Council had security. Satellites scanned the stars every second. Patrols flew day and night. Yet, there was nothing to find, because the enemy had vanished, and in their place only a feeling remained, a cold, quiet fear. In a dark council meeting hall, the leaders gathered one last time. No laughter, no pride, only silence. The chairwoman stood before them. Her voice was calm but heavy. They were weak once, or so we believed, but now they are gone, and we feel smaller. An admiral spoke. "They didn't destroy us." "No," she replied. "They made us destroy our comfort, our belief in power. They made us look inward." Another voice said, "Some call it punishment, others call it a gift." "They gave us fear," the chairwoman said. "No," said Professor Cal Thurn, stepping forward. "They gave us memory." Everyone turned to him. Echo was never a weapon. It was a mirror, he said. They showed us what we had become. Blind, arrogant, loud. "And now?" someone asked. Cal looked at the stars. "Now we whisper." On a small forest world far from the council core, a boy sat with his grandfather. The boy looked up and asked, "Is it true? The ghost race was real?" The old man nodded slowly. "Yes, they were called humans." "Where did they go?" the boy asked. "No one knows," the old man said. "But we still find signs. Not many, just enough." "Like what?" The old man pointed at the stars. "Sometimes deep scanners pick up strange music from empty space. Sometimes you find an old human book hidden on a lost moon. Sometimes a voice speaks your language before vanishing into nothing. Are they watching us?" The old man smiled. "Maybe. But if they are, they want us to remember something." "What's that?" The old man's smile faded. "That silence can be power. That respect must be earned. And that laughter at the wrong moment can echo forever." The boy looked at the sky. He didn't laugh. He listened. Back on Earth, the sky was dark. Stars burned above, but no ships moved, no lights, no noise. Deep underground, A single room remained active. Machines hummed softly. A screen blinked. David Rand sat in front of it, older now. He watched the galaxy from a distance. A soft voice came from behind him. "It's been years." David nodded. "They still haven't found us. Do you want them to?" "No," David said. "They laughed when we rose. They feared when we vanished. That is enough." The voice paused. "Was it revenge?" David shook his head. "It was evolution." He stood. "They thought power was noise. We taught them that power can be silence." He turned off the screen. The room went dark. One final message blinked before the light faded. Echo complete. The galaxy moved on. Ships flew again. Markets opened. But in every corner of every planet, people still remembered. They remembered the silence, the fear, the lesson. And though they never saw humans again, they knew one truth: humanity had not disappeared. It had become legend.